Well, hello, people. I've been keeping busy. Um, Twitter has been quite rewarding recently. It's good to know that my brand is recognised. As you know, I have a Twitter account isn't that isn't my name, and I spoke to somebody. Well, I had an exchange with Kevin Michael Grace, and he well, he didn't get the name, the term right, but he said, "Are you that secular Islam lady?" So it's nice to know that my branding is recognised. And uh, so I have been streaming on a new channel, but obviously you don't know anything about that because um, well, you just think I've dropped out. Hello, one viewer. Let me just. Sorry, this is a bit clunky, but I'm doing multitasking. And so I've been on Odyssey. Please go there. I've been on this new channel that I'm directing you to. I haven't been streaming that much really, but the two most interesting streams I have had have been with a Christian, a Maronite Christian called George on the Odyssey channel, on my Odyssey channel, and the official secular Quranism channel. So there's one of each. I think it's quite interesting. I actually had a call from someone whom I hadn't spoken to in years saying, "What's this then?" So I think maybe I'm just known for talking to mad people. But the great thing about George is that he makes so much sense. I mean, he made so much sense that I was immediately drawn to him. It's like, oh, tell me more. And for so many people, it's for me anyway. It's more, well, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? I have no idea. Why don't you say something clearly for a change? And this sort of thing. But and they can't, or they're afraid to. And it's like, why even bother saying anything if you can't say it clearly? I suppose thinking psychologically, the reason must be that okay, I thought I have been charging my phone, and it's saying 10% power remaining, and it's an old phone, and it sometimes has a problem doing things like charging, and I'm trying to find a charger, hoping that it might be better. That's why I'm scrabbling around on my desk in the hope that this will be better. And it seems my charger's out of charge, so I better be quick before damn, usually there's a sound that it makes when it shows that it is charging. So I don't dare do anything else on my phone. Please go to official secular Quranism, and um, okay, I'll just go on about the other thing that. So you have a takeaway point. So the reason people don't talk clearly is because well, they don't want to get cancelled. So they waste a lot of time. They don't get to the point because they're too afraid. They don't talk, they want to say, oh, I was only joking. So they basically say things that are nonsensical, really. And but they want to, in some way communicate something. So, people might infer that if you're with this or that group, you will share their beliefs and views. And it's like, well, then you're going to get done anyway, guilt by association with these, terrible people who, are known to be this or that. And I, I don't think you can really get away with it. So if you go, say, all the way to Chino in California, and you don't really say anything, what is the point? If you just gather around a campfire and sing hopo songs in an act of male solidarity, but you're too afraid to say anything that's really on your mind, and the conference doesn't even address your concerns, and is about, well, I don't even know. I mean, some of them are tweeting about it. It's like, but I have no idea what they've been discussing. And there's something called the Estuary Protocols, which is basically a woman saying, you in this group, you've got a list of things you want to talk about, and I'll choose your list of topics you want to talk about, so nobody gets upset. So, what is this? All these men going, making the effort to go somewhere, camping, paying hotel bills, and not really being able to discuss a subject properly. Why not just discuss it in person? Oh, but they don't know anybody enough to trust talking about these things too, so it has to stay on social media. But then when you do actually meet them, what can you discuss anyway? And so my new thing is masonry, which is actually what Vincent Bruno has been reading about. And, obviously I'm not going to hang around while he reads out books on masonry, but it occurs to me that masonry must have been what built America, because it provided a safe space for white men. that was what masonry was all about. Um, I know in the UK, well, really only in London. I mean, London has gentlemen's clubs, so landed gentry would, when they come to London, have somewhere to stay that is not a hotel, to be with other members of landed gentry. But I think even now they've been basically told they have to admit women, and so they just become dining clubs, really. Or places where women can go to husband hunt. So probably sex segregation is something that the English once recognised was necessary, because they had a English tradition of this is Victorian, but the Victorians, they were the height of English British power, and they still knew what was what at the time. So there was this tradition where you go to, if you're respectable, middle class, upper middle class, you go to a dinner party, and there would be the civilized bits where the men and women would, talk to each other, at dinner, and then the dessert was served, and the women would withdraw, and the men would have a chat with each other about, I don't know, usually it's to complain about their wives, probably, and the women would go to into the withdrawing room, which came to be called the drawing room, and and then complain about their husbands probably and talk, about their female concerns. And so this was how society was run, and maybe at some point, in a social gathering, there should be a mix of, single sex talk and mixed company talk. And obviously, the Victorians acknowledged that there was difference in how you behave when you're with, a group of people your own sex, and a group of, out in mixed company. And this was just assumed because it was so obvious. But now, we don't even know whether we're male or female or how we should behave. And I used to have a problem with that. Really, I just didn't see the point of all this, sex segregation thing. Once upon a time, I was a feminist too. And there's certainly attractions to feminism, as a woman and as a man, because what feminism offers is cheaper sex, and what patriarchy offers is very expensive sex, which is only possible between men and women married to each other, and only men and women not within the forbidden degrees of consanguinity can marry each other. So very, very restrictive and very, very expensive. But there would be licensed brothels. I don't know about being licensed, but there would be brothels anyway. And of course, if you allow brothels, they should be licensed. And I'm for that. Two people watching, thank you for coming. I don't quite know who you are, but do post in the chat to let me know who you are. Maybe you want to keep your identity secret. Doesn't matter. I don't mind, but obviously it's helpful if you show your identity. Now, what else is there? So I'm saying that society is different kinds of society are obviously organised in different kinds of ways, and we want our society to be efficient. Yes, efficient. Okay, you can say efficient at what? And I'm saying efficient at remaining in existence. That's a very low standard, isn't it? We want, and obviously, if we're healthy and strong now, we want to remain healthy and strong. We don't want to become, sick and weak, do we? And so we must maintain practices to keep us healthy and strong, and so as to avoid becoming sick and weak. And this is only common sense, but common sense, now, it is not that common, is it? It is only common in a patriarchy. Common sense is only common in a patriarchy. And when you are a matriarchy, you can't say anything, because it's bound to offend somebody who doesn't agree with you. And there's so many people who disagree with you, even if you're a member of the establishment, even if you're a member of the ruling class, even if you are leader. There will be people who disagree with you. And so, there's a problem. So, why is it necessary? I mean, it becomes obvious now, after what I've said, why it is necessary to have an official moral system. Now, when I say an official moral system, I don't mean everybody will agree with it, because there's bound to be dissenters in any society. There are bound to be dissenters and subversives. And we have to accept that it is part and parcel of, well, a logical universe of creatures endowed with free will. and the ability to form opinions, right or wrong. And the most efficient moral system will allow individuals in that society to have the maximum amount of personal freedom while keeping the group in existence. That is basically, oh silly me, I didn't even share my video. Let us hope that it is really charging, so I won't go dark suddenly. And that's what I'm going to do now. All that multitasking. Oh, what was I saying? Yes, efficient at remaining in existence. How can you remain in existence? It is through producing the next generation. How should we produce the next generation? Within wedlock, of course. Why within wedlock? Because it is a filter to filter out unmarriageable people from marriageable people. And of course, if you want your society to remain healthy and strong, you have to only allow marriageable people to have offspring who will hopefully be themselves marriageable, though there is no guarantee if they are the victims of bad parenting or bad genes. So all this was encompassed in the concept and practice of marriage, which are now all forgotten, because I suppose once upon a time when everybody practiced it, it was all obvious why, well, all these things had to be done, and now they're not being done, and we notice that the rules are being changed all the time at our expense, against us, working against us. And we're not given reasons. And so the moral system, what is the purpose of the moral system, even though not everybody agrees with it? It is basically so that we know when so we know this is how we keep a check on our ruling classes to see that they're not making up the rules as they go along. That is the whole purpose of having a moral system, an official moral system, that so that everybody knows what the rules are and knows when the rules are being broken. That is the purpose of a moral system. Is that so very hard to understand? So what is wrong with our moral system? We already know, or you must have heard me say, that Christianity is kaput, and it is so kaput that its replacement of liberalism is now kaput. So it's very coupled, and it needs replacing. Replacing with what? Well, you would want to choose for your group the best possible moral system that has a long-running track record, right? Why would you choose for your people the worst religion? How are we to tell what is a good religion and a bad religion? And I'm saying it's not that hard. There are 5 world religions. The Eastern religions of Hinduism and Buddhism are clearly not good enough. So we dismiss them. We just dismiss them. You don't want to be a Tibetan, do you? Because Tibet is known for its Buddhism, and it hasn't worked out that well for the Tibetans, because they're now run by the Chinese. Now, the Chinese are an interesting group because they don't seem to have a religion either, but they've been around for so long. Almost, I think, around the same time as the Jews have been around. And there's a form of, kind of mutual envy between the two. And the Jews say, how come you're so many and you do all the wrong things and eat pork and never have the Sabbath? And the Chinese probably think, oh, the Jews, how cute. They're like leprechauns and so special because they're so rare. What gives them their success? And it's interesting watching, listening to the views of Jews by the Chinese and the views of the Chinese by Jews. There's a kind of mutual curiosity and the kind of inability to work out why they're so successful. But a really horrible idea that I suppose that people who are Sinophobes and anti-Semites would find particularly horrifying is, if the Chinese all converted to Judaism. That would be, well, an interesting scenario for maybe a dystopian novel. So on the subject of religions, so I'm going to say, if you have 3 Abrahamic religions and you're not a Jew, there's only Christianity and Islam, and Christianity is kaput, so you choose Islam. But what about the Chinese? They're not Muslim, are they? And I'm saying, obviously not, but because they love their gambling and their pork. But what gives them their longevity? Because just as Jews have been and Chinese have been around for roughly the same time, China is known as the world's most enduring, continuous empire. So it's, as an entity, it is known as, well, a territory with distinct peoples. And the lost my train of thought. So one is empire and one is tribe. And the tribe, once upon a time, well, for around 2,000 years, they didn't have a homeland, but they managed to remain distinct from other people through the practice of their religion. While China, I think the secret of their success must be their adherence to patriarchy and their insistence of their respect for the institutions of marriage and the family, and of course their practice of ancestor worship, which is, well, just very hard on the Chinese. I mean, if you literally believed in it, then there's just nothing good about life, because your status in the afterlife can lower, and it's deliberate. It's really deliberate. It's a deliberate policy of producing children, and male children in particular. And the thing is, as the Chinese have found, there's no way of getting around the fact that if you left people alone, there is only, you're going to get, okay, your group will get roughly 50% children and 50%, 50% male and 50% female. And if you try to distort the figure, you will have a sex imbalance that will, in the end, destroy your society. So, obviously, in patriarchies, parents would prefer sons. The Chinese would be terrified into not, and into preferring male offspring, as most ancient societies do, because, well, I suppose they think, men are more useful for earning money and going to war and doing stuff that women can't do because they're supposed to stay at home. And if you do things like practice female infanticide, you will find that eventually it'll harm the interests of the next generation of men, because there will be so many men with no possibility of ever finding a wife of their own race that they will become gay. And when they become gay and you tolerate their being gay, you will find that it will spread. Sodomy, the practice of sodomy will spread, because eventually, if people think about it, they'll think, well, why do I want children? Do I want to be married and stuck with somebody for the rest of my life, paying for the kids who may not be good? And this reminds me of the ancient Greek saying, it is very pessimistic, and it goes along the following lines. It says, don't have children, they may be bad. If they are good, you will fear to lose them. I'll try to find out the provenance of this saying. My memory is that it came from ancient Greece. But I guess I've said enough at under 30 minutes, and perhaps somebody will post a comment to show that they have heard what I said, even if they don't agree with it. So thank you all for your attention.